Hello and welcome to Connecticut at your service. I'm your host today, Terry Perkins, and I'm coming to you live from Soundview Community Media in Stratford, Connecticut. Connecticut at your service goes live every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m., so make sure you tune in every week. So I'm here today with an amazing guest. Her name is Dr. Lori Monaco. She is an author, a coach, a publisher, a chiropractor, a speaker, a teacher, and a host of the talk show Viva Cafe con Leche. So welcome and thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks,
How are you
Terry.
today?
Good. How are you? It's such a beautiful day out today.
Nice. I'm doing well, thank you. So the first thing I want to get into is your awesome book that recently came out. It was in March 6th that it came out. Can we talk about that?
Absolutely.
You were the publisher of this. This is your...
I did. I took on the public. This is the third book, and
Yeah.
we've done, obviously two before. I had two different publishers. Learned a lot, and it just felt right to actually do the publishing for this one myself.
Right.
And it was an amazing experience because I learned as I went, but I also had so much, even more contact with the authors, because it's a compilation book, so it's multiple authors in the book. And I was able to work even closer than I did with the first two with the authors, and it was a really cool experience. It satisfied the introverted side of me where I do like creative, quiet work,
Background.
So yeah, it was pretty cool.
Nice. So I know last time you were here, you were trying to find authors. So how did you kind of find them this time around?
So I do social media advertising. I will send out emails. I will ask for referrals from other people. And so this particular one, there was two of them were actually referred from authors from the first two books, or actually the second book. So two of the authors there referred two of the authors in this one, which was really cool.
Nice.
And it was just, it flowed really nicely. We had a total of 8 authors, including myself, this time around. And I open it to, up to 15,
Wow.
8 to, 10, 15, whatever, whoever comes on, that's great,
Yeah.
And the more stories, the more robust it tends to make, but
Yeah.
8 was enough for this one.
Well, that's awesome. I've read sort of books that have multiple authors, and it's cool. You read on one page, and the next page is completely different. So I'm sure that was a really cool experience. Well, all 3 books, I'm sure they were a really awesome experience for you. But my next question would be, what is one story that kind of, I guess, sticks out, or one story that you want to speak about today?
Well, I mean, all these women, first off, I just need to say that the women that share their stories in this, they have to be a little vulnerable to do so. And sometimes they're sharing these stories for the very first time. Other times, some of these women have already authored books, some first-time authors. And sometimes it's the first time they're actually putting it on pen or in paper. And so there's this very empowering feeling, also very vulnerable feeling, like I said, and very nervous feeling because, oh my gosh, all these people are going to read it, even people that they know that maybe didn't know that much about them. So there's not any one particular one that stands out because they're all so fantastic. They're all different, but in the end they're all the same because they're all based on these women going through something either very challenging or traumatic even, and then being in the midst of it, then learning, getting out of it, then learning about themselves as a result of it. And so you can have them, they could be business stories, they could be health stories, they could be infidelity, they could be relationships, they could be motherhood, family dynamics, you name it. There's so many different things. And even for me, every time I work with an author and I read their story, I'm like, oh my God, this, I can't believe they went through this. And they're amazing women. So in the end, it's what stands out for me is what they've learned from it, how they came out. They're now the person they are today as a result of the story. And sometimes it's not just one story. I mean, it could be multiple stories. Sometimes they'll just have one element of their life that they talk in the chapter, and they have a whole bunch of other stories to talk about. And so that's the big focus, is just the fact that these women are brave enough to share it. to empower other women.
Right.
So that's usually what I like to focus on. And so if they want to know the specifics, they have to read the book.
I know, it's a secret. No, but that's great to hear. There's something I wanted to say, and it just escaped me. But I guess we can move a little bit into the live show that you do, the live talk show that you do, Viva Café con Leche. I know you said it's on Facebook and it's also on YouTube live.
Yep.
And
Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8 a.m. Mm-hmm. We do it live. It's a talk show. Mm-hmm. We talk about life. We talk about subjects that matter. I would say our demographic is mainly women, and usually mainly women over 35, but we do get men on the show. Mm-hmm. It's a very interactive show, so whether they're on YouTube or Facebook, if they're writing in the chat, we see it come on, we acknowledge it, we pop it on the screen.
Nice.
But we do have specific topics that we talk about, and they're all, this is our 4th season. Mm-hmm. We started this in 2020, and it's so much fun. It's a passion project for both myself and my co-host, and plus we're really good friends, which makes it even more fun to work with her, because she's fantastic. She's just fantastic.
What was her name?
Margarita.
Nice.
Yeah. So the show, we pick topics that we feel are important to women, but even to anybody, but are bold things that maybe people don't want to talk about. We don't talk about, there's specific things we don't like to talk about, but we go for the stuff that's more empowering, deep. But for this year, we decided to do something a little different. So we actually decided, because she and I are both coaches, we decided to add that element. I mean, technically, whenever we're talking about a subject, there's some element of coaching, in there. And we always recommend, take notes to the tribe that's listening. But this particular year, we opted to break the year down into quarters, because Margarita, she's also known as the Gladiator Guru. I'm known as the Badass Buddha on the show. Those are our stage names. But she was talking last year about how she breaks down her goals into quarters. So instead of like doing like a vision board for the year, or doing like a check-in every week, she's checking in with herself quarterly. So she gives herself 3 months to see where she is.
Right.
And so we started to talk about that. Like, that's actually a really good idea. People could do whatever they want, but that might really resonate with people. And then we said, well, what if we broke the year down into quarters and then grouped it into, this is what we're going to be talking about over these 3 months, and then each month is a specific topic for that quarter. And that's what we've done. So we started with, the first quarter was, and I mean, anybody can go back and look at these on YouTube and Facebook, so it's not like they can't go back and check these out if they missed. But the live is so much more fun. I mean, because we're interactive, But we started off with Know Thyself. Okay. And that was the first quarter of the year. So January was all about awareness. The whole entire month we talked about all types, awareness, what it is, how to do it. Then February was acceptance and acknowledge and accept. That's what it was. Okay. And then we finished up March with accountability. And now we entered our second quarter, which is what is possible. And this one I have to say is going to be my favorite, because we started this month. We started today. Today was our first day for April. Right. And we started with understanding and capabilities. So we're talking about emotions. We're talking about what you're capable of, what you think you are capable of, and then basically telling them you're more capable than you think, But next month we're going to be talking about belief, and then after that we're going to be talking about behaviors, habits. And I love that part because I get very sciencey. Like I have that because I'm a science geek and I love it, So I get to talk about the brain, and I get to talk about how that works along with just the regular personal development. And Gladiator Guru Margarita does the more spiritual side, And so this is going to be a really very cool quarter. And then the third quarter for the summer is all about taking action. So so basically the first half of the year is going to be really getting to know yourself and being honest. That's the big deal, is being honest with yourself so that you take control of your life and not blame other people for your life. And then what are we going to do about it?
Yeah.
And the beauty is that, Margarita and I, we're learning just as much, like as we go and we prep for the shows, all the things that we have learned over the years, plus the things that we teach as coaches, it culminates to this, but then we still learn from the tribe, because they'll put something up there, or they'll make a comment, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal communication system between us and those that are watching, and it's great. And I feel very blessed because that's been the year so far. So already in April, and for me, with the culmination of this third book, plus the show and what we've been doing, it's all about communication. It's all about sharing. It's all about stories. It's all about working together, collaborating, being a community. And it's such a beautiful thing when an individual shares what they've learned, what their challenges are, what they're afraid of, what they don't like about themselves, because we all help each other get better.
Right.
And it's not just me or her teaching. It's not just, somebody in the book. It's everybody's has a say-so, and everybody has something to, give.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I love the transition, or not transition, but rather the order in which you guys are going about the quarters and what you guys talk about. It sounds like, you're really trying to build people up so that when they get to that part where they have to take action, they have all the tools that they need to do that. So
I think we impressed ourselves too when we came up with it.
No, it's
when
really
we started
cool.
to come up with it, we were like, well, hey, that's pretty good.
Right. No, it is good. Like the accountability, honesty. I think even for myself, we were talking earlier about, and I know you're, a mindfulness coach, and public speaker, a teacher of mindfulness, and you get into other things as well. But we were talking about mindfulness a little bit, and how I myself am trying to be more mindful, more intentional, but also accountability is tough. I won't say anything about generations, just speaking for myself, accountability, it's all right, you said you would do this, you didn't do this, or even just being radically honest with yourself is difficult sometimes.
Very powerful 2 words you just put together.
Yes.
Radically honest. And I think that with everything in our world today, I think that's the big take, is we have to be radically honest with ourselves and who we are. It may not be everybody's, no. It might not work for everybody, but it has to work for us.
Right. And
because transforming your life and growing and learning is lifelong. It just does not stop. And every time you think you learn something, then something happens and you learn something else, And again, it has to be aligning with who you believe yourself to be, who you want to be, who you are right now, and asking yourself the questions that need to be asked. Because, for me, it's taken me years to get, I didn't really get it until I was in my mid-40s, and it was because of a really big dark night of the soul situation that occurred for me, and it woke me up. And it was a bad situation, but in the end, it was a good situation, because it finally woke me up to really question myself and question my choices over the years, and question my life and what I didn't like about myself, what I liked about myself, what needed to change. And so the last 7 years, 6.5 years for me, have been incredible. Mostly up. There's been some challenges.
Of course.
But the challenges are just that wake-up call to say, okay, what do I still need to work on?
Yeah.
And there's always something.
Always. Always. Or also, what do I need to learn? That's what I try and take from it. And in the moment, it's a lot tougher. But, when you go through difficult times or whichever, you survive it and you say, what can I learn from this? What did I get from this? What led to this?
And that's a very mindful approach. We can sit there and harp on all the bad situations in our life and the things that we should have, could have, would have, but in the end, you can't go back in time.
Right.
And emotions are fleeting, and 1 minute you could be happy, and 1 minute you could be upset, and then 1 minute you could be angry, and it's mindfulness really teaches us to just be with it in that moment and not judge it, and just ask, okay, why am I feeling this way, or why is this happening, and so on and so forth. Oh, we have a call.
We have a caller. Let's see. Hi, thank you for calling Connecticut at your service. Did you have a question?
Hello. Thank you so much, Dr. Lori. I'm so excited that you're back on the show. So I know that today you were mentioning about how people hadn't shared their stories, and sometimes in the book it was the first time that they were sharing it. Could you give some advice about how people can have those conversations, and most importantly, how to get your book?
So how they have the conversations with, I'm assuming themselves, like how to get the conversation going to share their story. You share your story no matter what. Like, it doesn't matter if it's in a published book, a journal, on your computer. You've got to speak your truth. You've got to share your story. And so jotting that information down one way or another is very powerful, because it helps you move through things, And if you get to a level where you want to publish, we're always looking for authors. Like, honestly, like, we actually have her Badass Story 4 is going to come out August. We're going to be releasing out. So we're going to start actually looking for authors to come on that want to come on into the next series. But you could get these on Amazon. They're available on Amazon. And it's important to never devalue your story. Mm-hmm. Your story is very personal to you. Not everybody might agree with your story because it's from your interpretation. But the beauty of your story is that people could sit there and say what they want and say this is inaccurate, this is wrong, but nobody can invalidate who you are and who you feel you've become because of the experiences that you've had. And your experience is your perception of that experience based on who you are. Mm-hmm. So I love the stories because they're real and they're raw for these women. And when you can get that way with your own story, like I said, even if you're not publishing it, even if it's just in a journal or it's just sitting on your laptop in a file, it's important because, and I'll tell you why. This is really interesting. Years ago, I was speaking I was in, gosh, I don't even remember what town it was in, but I was doing a series at this library. They hired me to come in and speak. And this very wonderful gentleman came up to me, and he had come to the first series. He came to the second one. And we got to talking, and at that point, this was in 2018, I was going to do a big show at the Marriott in Shelton. And it was like a 2-hour, workshop and nice. Interactive thing. It actually wasn't even a workshop. It was just a seminar. Mm-hmm. And he came, and it was quite a drive for him. Mm-hmm. Anyway, he took a liking to me, and one day he came in, actually came in that day after the show. He hands me this loose leaf of thick, like about this thick, and he gave it to me, and he said, I want you to have this. He said, I want you to have this. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, what is it? He goes, there's songs, there's poems, there's stories. I wrote these over the years. Wow. He's like, but I never wanted anybody to see them. And it made me so sad because I'm looking at this stack. It was like this. I still have it. Mm-hmm. And I have actually considered publishing it even though we did, I don't know, I go back and forth with this, because a year later he passed away. Oh, wow. He ended up getting throat cancer and then he passed away. And all I thought to myself was, they're like, I'm the one who's privileged to have these. I'm the one who and they're wonderful. Wow. Like, they're really good stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's why I thought about, I know he didn't want to publish them, but I'm thinking this would be just beautiful because this is what happens. We have such wonderful things within us. Talents. And we don't want to express it. And it could be words, it could be music, it could be paintings, sculptures, anything. But it's so unique to us, and even if you just want to express it to yourself, just express it to yourself. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you, caller. I know we lost you. That was a great question, but I can't even give you advice on that. But I'm glad that he trusted you to be able to to share his work, and that I thought of what I wanted to say earlier, but writing is it's a very vulnerable act. Even if you're not writing about yourself, even just sharing it, it's like, oh, they're going to see a little bit into my mind because this is what I've created. It came from me, sort of thing.
Yeah. There's so much vulnerability, especially in this book, because number one, you're sharing your story. Number two, you're sharing parts about you that people,
Sorry.
Go ahead.
We have another caller. Hi, thank you for calling Connecticut at your service. Did you have a question?
Yes, Dr. Lori, if you can use in one word to describe yourself in your healing transformation, what would it be?
Oh, you put me on the spot.
Day.
This, by the way, is my co-host for the show.
Hello.
This is Margarita. Hi, Margarita. One word to describe my transformation, is that what you said?
Yes, in the 6.5 years from where you were to where you are now, if you can use one word to describe yourself in everything you have learned thus far, what would it be?
I think it would be, there's one word I want to say, but I will say evolved or evolving. Not evolved, because that would be past tense. Evolving.
Evolving.
Yeah.
I would agree with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We got a witness.
Since you be quiet, listening to you, the books, the shows, the teachings, we should have one word to say, this is what I'm doing, this is who I am. So kudos to you. I'm proud of you.
Oh, thank you. And I have to tell you that she's fabulous herself. What word do you have? What's your one word, would you say, for you?
That I am awesome.
And I could attest for that. I could attest to that.
Got another witness. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gladiator Guru.
All right, bye-bye. I don't know if that was another call. Okay. Do you remember what we were saying? We were getting into
We were
something
talking
good.
about the vulnerability piece.
Okay.
And so there's a vulnerability share in the story, but then there's also one with actually writing your words, because it's a story.
Yes, we are popular. Or
I
you're
know.
popular. I'm sorry, not me. Hi, thank you for calling Connecticut at your service. Do you have a question?
Yes, I'm looking to talk with Dr. Lori.
Yes,
This
ma'am.
is she.
This is she.
Hi.
Okay.
What was your question?
My question is, what was it like when she first had to face her vulnerability?
Scary. And is this Gail?
Yes.
Okay. Gail's one of the authors on her badass story.
awesome.
So wonderful, Gail. And Gail was an author prior to doing this. So women from all backgrounds, whether they're first time or not, or published authors already, will love being in these books. So Gail, it was uncomfortable. Being vulnerable was uncomfortable because for years I viewed vulnerability as such a weakness, and I had a lot of vulnerabilities. I had a lot of things I didn't like about myself, and I did everything in my power to hide them. And when I released that piece of it, it was like I could breathe. And so that it was very, very scary at first, very uncomfortable, but then you get in the flow, and Gail would know about that because that's what she read. Her next book, her book that she released yesterday, is about the flow state.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yep, Crafting the Flow State. That's her book. She released
Awesome.
yesterday.
We'll make sure to check that out too.
Did that answer your question, caller?
Yes, it does, but I have a follow-up question.
Oh, sure.
And then the follow-up question is, there are so many people now wanting to get to that vulnerable state because they know there's beauty beyond it. So what advice would you give to people who are just so afraid to take that step?
That's a good question.
That is a good question. Embrace it. Embrace the fear, but also know you're not alone. I think a lot of times we're thinking we're the only ones. It's like the spotlight's on us and everybody's looking at us. It's like you're standing on stage naked, giving your speech
Right.
kind of deal. But there's so many people out there that have a story similar, or their vulnerabilities are very similar or the same. So know that if you're brave enough to do this and you're brave enough to face this, number one, it's going to change your life exponentially and for the better. But then it's also going to inspire somebody else. So sometimes people aren't willing to do for themselves, but they're willing to do for other people. So if they could find just enough courage to face that vulnerability, knowing that they could help somebody else, I think that that sometimes is an extra little boost for people. But yeah, everybody's journey is different, and how fast or slow. Going through that vulnerability piece. Luckily, though, I will say that I think in this day and age, especially now in our current time, there's a rise of people being comfortable and being open to being vulnerable. There's still a lot of hidden stuff, but I think there's a lot of people too that are stepping up and saying, you know what, I'm not gonna be afraid, I'm gonna do this.
Yes, and I would add to that, and then I'll let you go. There might be another caller. That reaching out to someone like you, someone like me, you don't have to do it alone, right? There are people here who will hold your hand as you transfer.
Absolutely.
Or transition through that stage, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's the joy of it, I think, is the community, is the collaboration. Because I think, I'm trying to think, when I first started to do it, I didn't really have a tribe when I first started to do it. But I think I was in such a low place that I felt like I couldn't get any lower, and I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna do this because I have to. Like, I can't, there was only 2 choices for me, and one was not good. So that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, we could go on and on about
I know.
that. I love you.
Thank you. Love you too, Gail.
And share your light, baby. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. All right, we have another caller, I think. Let's try again. There we go. Hi, thank you for calling Connecticut at your service. Did you have a question?
Yes, I'm wondering what's wrong with the audio. I can't hear anything.
Oh, I'm not sure what's going on with that, but
Yeah, I watched last night too. A couple of them. The government access, but this I can't hear anything on the public access.
Oh, that's interesting.
Not too sure.
Okay.
But thank you so much for calling in.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right,
Bye.
thank you. All right.
Okay, thank you. But great job answering those questions. I'm taking so much in, especially about the vulnerability, definitely. But before we wrap up, because it's coming to a close, I wanted you to, plug in how to contact you and how to reach you online.
Yep. You can reach me at drlorimonaco.com, and you could find me on Facebook at Dr. Lori Monaco. You could find me on YouTube at Dr. Lori Monaco. Instagram is the Badass Buddha 1. Mm-hmm. I'm on Pinterest, although I haven't done a lot with Pinterest, but you could find me, let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And we would love to have anybody come on to view the show on
Awesome.
Tuesdays and Thursdays as well.
I don't know if we'll have time for a caller. I'm sorry, caller. We're running out of time.
Popular though.
Yes.
Made up for last time.
Yes.
Last time I didn't have anybody call.
Okay, I don't know if I can end it from there, but thank you so much for coming in. I just wanted to know if there was any other, okay, I'll answer it. Hi, thank you for calling Connecticut at your service. Did you have any questions?
I did for Dr. Lori if she's available.
Yes,
still.
we are.
Well, we have less than a minute,
Yes.
so.
Okay, no worries.
All right, but thank you for calling.
All right, thanks.
Okay,
Thank
bye.
you. You handled that better than I did.
That's right, it was my sister,
Oh,
so it was okay.
You're good with voices. I am not too good. But yes, thank you so much for coming to our show. So happy to have you here. Did you have any other? Well, thank you so much.
Yes,
I think
Terry,
that's
thank
it
you for
today.
having me. I really appreciate
Yes.
it.
So thank you for watching, everybody. We come to you live every Tuesday at Soundview Community Media. Thanks.